And hello, everyone. Welcome to the WARTburg Infusion Entertainment Review. It's time for episode number 42, where tonight we're going to be talking Obi Wan, Top Gun Maverick, and our second episode, a little 30-minute extra special after this one for number 43. It's going to be talking about Stranger Things. So thank you for tuning into the live stream over at twitch.tv/MrWartburg. I am your host, Thomas, aka the aforementioned Mr. Wartburg. And alongside me, as always, is my co host, Patrick, aka Mr. Fusion.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Wartburg, I want to bring this up. I have to do a little bragging here. It was a weird day, so I made a stop to grab some Pulse cookies.
That looks
And
amazing.
this week, it is s'mores is one of them. Uh, pink donut is another one. The Homer Simpson donut. Walnut, and then the best one yet, cookie dough. It's a chocolate chip cookie donut with cookie dough chips on top of it.
That sounds
This
fantastic.
This place, like, I don't know if you ever had Tiff's Treats, how they bake fresh cookies
Yeah.
and okay. That was the thing, what, 6 or 7 years ago? Crumble's the shit now. Like, these guys, like,
So if
yeah,
the RT podcast was starting now, that they'd always have it.
they would always
Remember,
have
didn't they have the Sherry's berries? Is that
yes,
they were the
Sherry's
chocolate
berries.
covered berries?
Yes,
Yeah.
they were the Sherry's berries. That was at the very beginning. That was at the early stages of the popular podcast,
Yeah,
right?
that was
When
when they were moving. I think that was that. Like when
when
you think of the classic Rooster Teeth podcast set, that was like when they just got there. That was
no,
just
actually no, because at Ralph Ablanedo, they actually
no.
had
It was the 636.
636. Okay,
That was the Office I'm thinking of.
yes,
I'm crossing
yes,
my eras.
yes.
636. Yeah, when Achievement Hunter was like just getting started. That era
Yep.
of the podcast.
Where you used to actually just be able to go like email one of the personnel and you'll get a free tour for no problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, those were the days, man.
When I could just like email Adam and be like, "Hey, my account got locked. What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Then he'd
Oh
fix it.
God. Yeah. Adam would just message you back. Done. You're good.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Those were the days.
Good
Those were the days.
times. Good times
Good
those
days.
days.
Yeah, but man, crumble is a good. It's some good cupcake. I mean, good cookies, man. So like, I was just like having a bad day, and my wife hadn't had lunch yet, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go pick her up some In and Out, and they just opened up a crumble right next to it. So I was like, you know, I'll grab me, and because I really like a couple of friends on Twitter, we would always talk about each week because they change out the cookies each week. It was a good spread this week, man, with that cookie dough, that donut one. So I was like, I'm going this week, man. I'm going. So yeah, I ate one of them. I'm planning on eating a couple more after we wrap up here today.
That sounds like a good plan. My brag today was mostly just that I made tacos because
Hey,
tacos
man.
are awesome.
Tacos are great. They're the every meal, man.
Oh, Chris
You're
is in
supposed
our live chat. Again, we're at twitch.tv/Mr. Wartburg, MR Wartburg, like the college or the castle, if you're a fan of German history or Lutheran history, Lutheran, the religion. Uh, Chris is a big fan of your framed posters.
the X-Men #1, Super Mario 3, and my favorite, which is a 35-year-old original. This is original. Transformers the movie.
It's a
Now,
good
did I
poster.
buy it? Did I buy it 35 years ago? No, I did not. I bought it about 20 years ago on eBay. So someone was selling an original version of it. So yeah, I've kept that one. Those are my favorite. And over here, you can't see it. Star Wars. I actually have a couple of comic books that are CGC graded that are on the wall, and all of Wartburg's burns are over here on this wall.
I
So
got
yeah.
another one for you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Got one coming
Nice.
whenever I get to Austin again.
Yep, yep, yep.
If
Gotta
if
clean it up.
gas stays this expensive, I'm gonna ship all the wood burnings down and just fly.
Because that would be cheaper.
It'd
Yeah.
be a lot cheaper because it's like 440 right now up here in
Oh
Iowa, which
God,
is
man.
oh my
Whew.
god.
Yeah. So let's just jump into it, man. Let's go into it.
Let's
Let's do
get
this.
right into it. Let's get into what we've been watching, what we've been playing, and then we'll get into my spoiler-free rundown of Top Gun Maverick. I've seen it twice. Fusion hasn't seen
Twice.
it, so dude, it's that good. It's
Ugh.
that good. So we'll get into my spoiler-free rundown of why it was so good. And then we're going to spend the bulk of this episode talking about Obi Wan. Then we're going to take a break and do a specific Stranger Things episode because, my God, we have theories, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh man, yes we do.
Like, I have not gotten this deep into, like, ooh, this is where I think they're going with this and where I think they're going with that in a while with a show, other than something like brand new. Like, this is a show that's been around a while now, considering.
Yep.
This is a show that it got its hooks back in me, man. I didn't think it would. Stranger Things got its hooks back in me hard. All right. So, Fusion, what have you been up to in the last, I think it's been 3 weeks since we recorded.
Yeah. It's been 3 weeks, man. We were gonna record last week, but both of us weren't feeling very well last weekend,
Yeah.
so we decided just
Life
to give
was
it a few
weird.
days. It's been a weird stretch, man. Not gonna lie. Yeah. So been watching. I actually went back, watched the J.J. Abrams. Is that what we're calling them, or are we calling the what are we calling the Star Treks? The Abrams Star Treks.
It's like the Kelvin verse, but yeah, the
The
Abram
Kelvin.
tracks, yeah.
But I've also heard the Kelvin verse. Let's go with the Kelvin
Yeah,
verse.
it's the
So
Kelvin timeline.
yeah, the Kelvin timeline. So I went back and watched the three Kelvin timeline Star Treks. Great movies, all three of them. Disappointed that Beyond didn't do as well as it did in the
Because it's
box
the
office
best of the
because
movies.
it's a great fucking movie, man. Um, I'm super happy that they're going to start working on pre-production of Star Trek 4 here very, very soon. Like I'm very, very excited about that. Um, I'm interested where they're going to go, man. Like there's so many possibilities here. Are we going to go with Q? Are we going to bring in the Borg? Like whatever. Like are we actually going to go full on with the Klingons? They were teased, in Star Trek Into Darkness. So I'm very curious on where we're going to go next. Or are they going to do what they were originally planning with 4, which was to kind of do a loop of timeline and have Chris Hemsworth show up again. Man. But here's the thing: is that I did read something where apparently um, they scrapped a big chunk of the of 4 2 years ago because get this, the primary storyline was about a universal virus that was killing people on many planets. So they were like, yeah, right when COVID hit, they're like, yeah, this is not a good idea. So let's
Yeah, that
just
wouldn't
scrap.
be good.
Yeah. So they scrapped that. But if you do the Borg or you even do Q, you can actually talk about bringing in Hemsworth back. You can kind of squeeze him in there. So I'm very excited about the idea that they're doing a 4, and apparently all of the cast, except for is it Alton Yetchin?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, he
of
passed
course
away. He
he's
passed
yeah.
away just before the premiere of Beyond. But and then of course Leonard Nimoy passed away just before Beyond release as well. But yeah, so I'm very excited that the original cast is coming back for that. Watch that. I think I mentioned the last time we recorded. Watched Reacher, which was good. Been dipping in and out of a few other shows here and there, but catching up on podcasts mostly, man. As well as we talked about We're gonna talk about Obi Wan. I do need to go catch Top Gun Maverick because it's still a 90. It's a 97 on Rotten Tomatoes, man.
Dude,
97. Come
the hype
on.
is real.
And of course, Stranger Things, which we'll talk about in a separate episode. We've got a lot to talk about with that one. But yeah, just watching all the new content, and then actually, I went back and watched WandaVision as well, just because after sitting down and thinking through Multiverse of Madness, I really wanted to go back and watch that. And COVID really. Don't get me wrong, Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision were entertaining, but I think a lot was left on the table because of COVID production, man. I think a lot of the storylines that they really wanted to flesh out were hurt because of COVID, and maybe one day we'll get kind of like a deep like synopsis of what was supposed to take place on both of those shows in terms of storyline that was left out. I don't know, but we'll see. But yeah, that's what I've been doing, man. How about you?
Um, on
Oh,
the
and we've been playing Apex. I've been
Yes,
getting
that
into
is
Apex
first on my
again.
list is video games.
Okay,
Of course, we had the
go
Cure
for
for
it.
Crohn's charity stream in between our
Obviously,
last podcasts, which we raised over $3,800 for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, which was fantastic. We played some Back for Blood. Lately, just like on our own time, we've been playing Apex Legends, which is
yeah,
an absolute blast of a game. I also have been rewatching some Star Trek. I watched the end of Beyond last night. Once again, Carl Urban, absolute underrated guy. Like
yeah.
he's an A-lister who just like plays like he's a C-lister. Like he's whatever. He's gonna do
Well,
whatever he wants.
when you think about it, his first really big role was what, the Two Towers.
Yeah, I think that and there was another movie he was in around that time. But yeah, like that was the first big nerd movie he was in, I should
But we
say.
never thought, like, you just never thought that that guy was going to be
But then he's
like
Dread,
this good. Yep.
right? Oh, and he's in
Billy
the Riddick
Butcher.
movies. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, and now he's, in Star Trek. He's Bones and he's perfect. Like
Yep.
straight up perfect Bones. Oh, and he's gonna headline The Boys, one of the biggest superhero properties in existence.
Yep.
Yeah. How nobody's made a Dread sequel, I do not understand.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Carl Urban is the man. People will watch him do in anything. What are you doing? Green light, a Dread sequel. And everyone needs that. Okay. Excuse
They
me.
did him wrong. They technically, I feel he could have been so much more in the MCU.
Oh, yeah, and he was in the MCU.
Yeah.
He's Scourge.
Scourge and Ragnarok. I mean, he could have been anything else, and we would have enjoyed him. Like he would have been great anywhere else.
Yeah. That said, he was a fun character.
Yeah, he was.
More Star Trek. I've been watching Strange New Worlds again.
Yep.
10 out of 10. Every episode's just been
Gotta
wow.
watch.
This is Star Trek. Like it's incredible. All the characters perfectly likable, professionals, competent, but you're still able to tell dramatic stories. Shocker, you can do that. That's what
Yep.
makes me wonder what they're going to do with Star Trek 4. Because they're diving full on back into Prime timeline. Like, they seem to be done with the Kelvin universe, the Kelvin timeline. Like, Strange New Worlds, Prime timeline. Discovery, Prime timeline. Lower Decks, Prime timeline. Those are their three mainline shows, and they're all focusing on the Prime, like, regular Prime timeline. Same with Prodigy. I think there's another Star Trek show coming out, too, that's Prime timeline. So I don't know. Do they find a way to, like, fully retcon all of the Abrams verse?
No, because you have the ability for them to have a Generations type of movie where you had
That's possible.
the original Star Trek and the Next Generation kind of crossover blended together. You can have that with the Next Generation, like as many as you cast it as you can, and have them kind of mesh into like the Kelvinverse. Like something happens in that movie, like with the Borg or even with Q, where you even get like Shatner, of course. You got to get. I mean, we still have yet to have the obligatory Shatner cameo in the
Yeah, I can't
Kelvinverse.
believe they never did.
And I mean, now that Leonard Nimoy's passed away since Beyond, I wouldn't doubt that they're going to try to squeeze him in. So I think I think maybe this one goes multiverse because I think we're hot on multiverses, but at the same time, that's a very dangerous game because Everything Everywhere All at Once was probably one of the best multiverse movies, and maybe one we'll talk about that at another time. But um, I think it could be quickly become overkill if you're not too careful with the multiverse
Yeah.
because we're getting it with Flash, we're getting it with DC's properties on movies and TV. So we're getting a Flash movie that I don't know why we're still having Ezra Miller just reshoot the whole thing like a la Back to the Future style, just recast with Grant Gustin and do the movie. Come on, like it's not that hard. But yeah, it's I think that they could still kind of blend them in together, do like a Generations. Yeah.
Yeah. I would actually be more curious to do it as like a mini series on like Paramount Plus, but you wouldn't get the cast to come back because
No.
you could get all the captains except Pine
Yeah.
for that kind of thing, and maybe
Yeah.
Stewart because I think
He's
he's mostly done. But like you would need to. Star Trek is the opposite of Star Wars in that it is TV first, movie second. You know what I mean? Like it is
yeah.
show first driven, show driven versus movie
Yeah.
driven. Whereas Star Wars is the literal polar opposite, where it has good shows, but it's movie driven as an IP, at least in its history. Obviously, as it goes now into the future without any movies on the slate, like officially, like in
Yeah.
production, that's going to change. But there was a long period of time where Star Trek was in the weeds too. They were doing the opposite. The Abrams years, there were no shows on the air; it was just
Yeah.
movies, and
Yep.
it was also the worst period of Star Trek, in my opinion.
Well, let's be fair though. The original series, when they hit motion picture, it's not like they were box office breakers. Come on, let's be real. The
No, that
Shatner
they
era,
did. Other than the motion picture, they actually all did pretty good.
they did good, but they weren't like
They were also cheap.
blockbusters.
They were not
Yeah,
the most expensive movies on the market. I think
no.
I think 2 was. That was because motion picture did well, so 2 got a good budget. But the rest were pretty cheap. Like there's not that many sets.
Yeah.
Like they weren't shooting on that many locations.
Nope.
Like they were cheaper movies.
Yep. If you look, they're battling in two different cockpits for most movies. Like when they're battling the Klingons, and it's just they go back and forth between two different ships. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm excited about the fact that there is a revitalization of Star Trek. Period. Just period. Like it's a great IP rather than it being about war in space. We're getting exploration and science in space. That's what Star Trek is counter to what Star Wars is, right? Which is, I think, Expanse is kind of the political. You have your
Oh yeah.
science, your politics, and your war, like your conflict. So those are the three right there. And I think you said this. They're trying to do Expanse spin-offs now as well, right?
Yeah, they're transmedia properties. They're doing a video game. Obviously, there's all the
Yeah.
books, that predate the entire series. But
Hey,
I
butt.
think for me, as soon as you get into Strange New Worlds, you're gonna binge it all
butt.
because
Okay.
it's just everyone is so fucking likable.
How many episodes are
I
left?
think they're doing 10.
Okay.
Strange New World total number of episodes. Let me Google this. Strange New
We're gonna
World's
Google this
episode
right
order. How many episodes? They're doing 10. So this
Okay.
tomorrow is episode 5, halfway point.
Okay.
So you should dive in like a week or two,
Yep.
and then just get ready for the finale because it's gonna be fantastic. Like
Okay.
they made the Gorn fucking scary, dude. Like straight up
Really?
some alien shit. It was great.
Okay.
They blended
All
a lot of cool themes together from the original series era that I really dig.
right.
But
But isn't it just? It's fun to be talking about Star Trek as
it
well as Star
is.
Wars,
It's
right?
fun to like be able to nerd out about actually good Star Trek.
Because Beyond was great. But Beyond came out almost 7 years ago. That was 2016.
Yeah,
Like,
and everybody's mostly dunked on Discovery.
yep.
Lower
Discovery
Decks
wasn't.
has found its legs, but it didn't start out of the gate fucking hot.
No. Nope. It didn't. It wasn't until first season of Picard where people were like, "Okay,
Maybe they're
yeah,
working with something here.
okay, I like Star Trek again. Like this isn't bad because let's be fair, it wasn't a great show, but it was well written. Like it was a well written show, Star Trek show. And then you don't believe so?
They fired their showrunner in episode 4. Like
Uh,
season 1 of Picard was just an absolute train wreck. Like in
okay.
episode 7, they go, "Oh yeah, we're just not gonna do any of this Borg shit. All the androids." Like hard swerve. It was very weird. It made no sense
Well,
because
for me,
they completely jettisoned it in season 2.
I'm just happy that like Star Trek, the IP
Oh yeah,
is getting momentum again.
it's great.
Like if Picard hadn't been popular, if Strange New Worlds hasn't been uh getting the reception, there probably wouldn't be talk about kicking off production of Star Trek 4. I think,
I don't even
but
know
I
if they
say that,
need
but
to.
I say that, but Paramount is in desperate need of more production stuff, content for for
And
their
that's where
app.
the shows I think come in better than
Yeah,
the movies.
yeah, yeah.
Because their short-term movie slate's fantastic. Mission Impossible, Top Gun Maverick, which we're going to get to shortly.
Yep.
Like they're having a moment, like Top Gun's out now, right? Mission Impossible's the trailer popped out, right? Like
They're
they're
doing
getting
another Beavis and Butthead movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
like and they're only Mission to Mission Impossible 3. That's the only one missing off Paramount Plus, which if I
Yeah.
believe is a bad robot issue because they have like stuff with Fox, if
Yep.
I
That's
recall.
right. That's right.
That's like a long-term deal because of J.J. Abrams. So I don't know if 3 will ever come to Paramount Plus. Paramount owns the IP though, so I don't know. And then of course, like I said, Top Gun Maverick, which is absolute fucking craziness at the box office. 156 million, 124 international.
Not bad for a 40-year-old sequel, man. Not
Nobody
bad.
that nobody wanted.
Yep.
Bonkers. Those numbers are superhero numbers. No movie does that anymore. Like it destroyed everything that was not superheroes, which is awesome to see because it shows people want nostalgia and they want it to be good.
Yep.
And when it is both, it's gonna do great. So hopefully we'll get some fun, more nostalgia sequels that actually are successful and are good as well.
We got Ghostbusters Afterlife, but it wasn't well received.
Yes, it was.
No, no. Like
Yes,
the
it was.
internet, like the internet liked it, but critics were very soft on it. Initially, if you remember, the first few
Well,
reviews that
who
came
gives a shit
out.
about the critics? I'm caring about the audience score.
Okay, that's fair.
Because
That's
the
fair.
critics are like, you get the mixed bag of like the professional critics and like
Yeah.
the people like us critics and like
Yeah.
the people who are trying to be edgy critics,
Yeah.
right? Like audiences are just like, did I like it? Yes. No. Score.
God, who was it? Who was that? Was it the Village Voice that they were the lone person that gave the negative review on the first
See,
Avengers
like
film?
it's a 94 audience score.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
What's
Like,
okay? But just for
and it is
shits and giggles,
fresh. It is rated fresh by
Okay.
Tomato Meter.
Okay, that's fair.
But this to me is a case of, I think most of the critics who reviewed it were not as nostalgic, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's okay to be biased and have that nostalgia. It's just I think they tried to cut it too much, like cut against the grain a bit too much with the, not being biased. It's
Yeah.
okay to be to admit that when Harold Ramis shows up, you cried. Okay, it's okay.
I broke down. I'm not gonna lie.
You
I'm a
know, my,
44-year-old man, and I got teary-eyed when that
I'm
happened.
consoling my dad because he's in a puddle on the floor, right? Because he's
Yeah,
just crying his eyes out because it's a great movie.
yeah.
Whatever, that's a different conversation. I need to get back to the fact that I saw everything
Yes,
everywhere all at once.
yes.
What a fucking movie, dude.
Holy crap.
That was absolute insanity in a movie. That is the best way to describe that movie. It's like, people said that about Swiss Army Man, which is like these directors, as their partnership is called the Daniels. It was like their first breakout movie. People said that movie was insane. This movie takes that to an entirely different stratosphere.
Yeah.
It was utterly incredible to watch. All the way through the emotional through line that's managed to carry through this absolute sci-fi, just complete nuts like scenario. The fact that they're able to make it emotionally connect at the end, incredible, so cool. But I don't want to talk too much about that because I need to talk about what might be, and in fact I think is my favorite movie of the year so far, and that is Top Gun Maverick.
Go for it.
I believe it was Tim Geddes that said on Twitter, all movies should be Top Gun Maverick. And I can't say he's wrong. That's how good this movie was, Fusion. I am not overhyping this movie.
I know you're not, man. You're not the only person, like, because I'm an '80s guy. I grew up in the
Yeah,
'80s,
I
right?
didn't grow up watching Top Gun.
Yeah, I grew up with this kind of stuff in the '80s, and I just haven't had a chance to go watch it this weekend. But all of my friends that did were like, dude, because I remember, if you remember, before you went to go watch it, the day, like a couple days before, the Rotten Tomato score came out, and I was like, dude, it's a 97, and you're like, what? Oh my god! And then you went, and you messaged me after, like, holy shit, it's good. I'm like, so I got to go watch it. I am, but you've watched it twice since.
Yes, I went and took my
Oh,
dad to it. Picked up a
okay.
cold and then felt like shit for days after it.
Ugh.
But man, it was so worth it. One of the best movies I've seen, and definitely the best third act in a movie I have seen since Endgame. Bar none. Once there's a moment that kicks off the third act. I should say it's the coda to Act 2 before Act 3 really kicks off. When that moment happens, edge of your seat, you cannot look away, white knuckle for 40 minutes. Like, it's intense without being like it's without getting you tense, you know what I mean? Like you're just like, man, I gotta see what happens next. Like, oh my god, what is happening? This is amazing. Like you just have a smile on your face because the action you are seeing is Cruise's perfection on what he demands of Cruise.
Yep.
Like the
Yep.
crew with an S. Cruise. But it's that on every level. The cinematography, like the CGI, what little there is just impeccable. You can't spot it at all. Cruise, absolute top of his game, and the movie plays it perfect. Where it's a Maverick movie. It's not Maverick teaching kids movie. No, it's a Maverick movie with some new, not really recruits. They are top specialists that he has to teach for a new mission that no one's ever done anything like before. And so there are a few characters that stand out, but of course the one in the trailer is Goose's kid.
Yep.
It's Maverick as A, or 1, and 2 is Rooster, and everybody else is 3rd. Like, which is exactly what it needed to be. Because that's how you do the nostalgia right. You don't do nostalgia by baiting and switching and having it all be about the new kids. Couple things that keep it from maybe being a pure 10 out of 10, and that is this weird... It didn't need to be a love story. It was functional with, holy shit. I'm blanking on her name.
Meg Ryan?
No. Jennifer Connelly.
Jennifer Connelly. Oh, Jennifer Connelly, yes.
Solid
Okay.
love story, but nothing to write home about.
Yep.
You know, like, if it had just been they were friends, you know, it had been the exact same, is what I'm saying. It didn't really add anything to it. And I think actually the ending being that as the hook with him, like, and that's not a spoiler, it's an 80s sequel, right? Like, you know, it didn't really land. But I think that's just a function of maybe if I was older and had more connection to that era of filmmaking, maybe I would. I don't know.
Okay.
That's an interesting one. But
Yeah.
holy shit, Fusion. There's so many moments in this movie that are absolutely hype as fuck. And
Okay.
you feel that, holy shit, they were in F-18s absolutely destroying these things. My God. Is incredible. The making of featurette of this movie. Absolute must watch for anybody who makes movies.
Okay.
Like the shots of them in the desert, getting the 50-foot, like 50 to 100-foot flyovers of these F-18s. They're only 50 feet below an F-15, going like 600 miles an hour. Filming that shit. Incredible. Like this, it's like what Nolan did for like The Dark Knight, but for planes. That's the best, maybe the best hype I can give it there. Like that is on the level of the cinematography we're talking. So fucking good. All right, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Joseph Kosinski was the director. Yeah.
Yeah, and he did the Mad World trailer. He's most known for doing CGI stuff, and now he's
Yep.
doing a movie that is just pure practical effect perfection.
Yep.
Incredible. So good. I cannot wait for you to watch this, and I cannot wait for it to come out because
Well,
we are
I'm on
Discord
vacation.
movie nighting this.
I am on vacation next week, all of next week. I made myself take a week off, and I think Monday morning I'm going to catch the matinee. Local AMC. There's a mall right down the street from me that has AMC.
Obviously, it'd be crazy for you to do an IMAX because they would never be cheap. But go see it on the absolute best screen you can.
Okay.
Within your, obviously, you don't want to be in a packed theater situation. Totally understand.
Yep.
See it in the best you can.
Well, the good thing is that on a Monday morning it's kind of dead.
Oh yeah, it's
So,
gonna be dead everywhere.
yeah. So,
Dude, that movie.
okay.
We need to talk about it.
Yeah, we will talk about it. I will watch it over in the next few days, and we will talk about Top Gun Maverick because I am all about the '80s and taking a sequel from the '80s and making it better than the original. Because this is better than the
It
original. Let's be
blows it out
frank.
of the water. It's not
I mean,
even a contest.
Top Gun was a fun movie, but the soundtrack was more popular than the movie itself. Let's be
Yeah,
real.
it was
Like,
synonymous with 80s cheese.
yeah, Kenny Loggins and Berlin. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
take my breath away. That was like the two biggest songs were "Danger Zone" by Kenny Loggins, who of Caddyshack. It's
Yeah.
the Caddyshack theme fame. Like wrote the action theme for Top Gun, and then "Take My Breath Away" by Berlin was the other one, of course. And of course, you lost this scene where they're singing "You Lost That Loving Feeling" is iconic. But I mean, there's a lot of like kitschiness about it, which is very on point for the '80s. That's what we got a lot of in the movies in the '80s. But yeah, the fact that they actually took that and they made like a great summer blockbuster movie out of the sequel 40 years later, it's like holy shit, like yeah. Kaczynski deserves a lot of praise for this, and you said it though. Tom Cruise he's become very, very big on holding everyone accountable, including himself, on productions going forward. And I think that started with Mission Impossible. Like I think
Yeah, once he started putting millions of his own money on the line.
Yeah, as a producer, yeah.
Yeah. Because that was the only way
That's
MI3
cool.
would be made. Because 2 was just such a shit show.
Oh man.
And that was
2
when he
like-
decided, hey, give me the reins on the backside of producing these movies, and we will make them amazing. And he said, here's some money for it. And Paramount was like, go run with it.
Yep.
And now
they're
Mission Impossible is what it is.
They were like, okay, let's see what you could do. And 3 people were like, 3's really good. And then they're like, okay, well, let's do a 4. 4 is better. 5 is even better. Like it's just,
And
I'm
6
sure
has Henry
Paramount's
Cavill loading his arm guns.
Yep, with a mustache.
Hell
I mean,
yeah.
it's just like God, the guy's pushing 60 years old and he's still got it, man. As an action star, it just blows
Yeah.
my mind.
And if there was any time anyone would have said, oh, he's too old to play this role, that's put to bed in 5 minutes of this movie. The opening, like, to get in the headspace of Maverick sequence, just stellar. So fucking cool. Can't wait for you to watch it.
I'm gonna watch it, man. I'm gonna watch it, and then we're gonna have to, mics will be hot, and we'll have to roll on a special episode on that.
Heck yeah. I'll have to bust out the aviators.
Yep. Cool, man. Awesome.
All right. So speaking of talking about stuff, let's get into Obi-Wan.
Yes, let's do this.
There's, of course, now 3 episodes out on Disney Plus. Here as we're recording this on the 1st of June. So, 3 episodes in. Obviously, I just got done yammering about Maverick, so I'll let you go on your first, your thoughts on Obi-Wan. And I know you had a tweet out earlier about how you had some things to say.
Yeah. Let's see here. I really like Obi-Wan. Um, you and I have mentioned it when we first saw the first two episodes last week. I like the storytelling. Most important, I really like the fact that it has that Favreau Filoni look, which is the more balance of practical and CGI, which is what we saw with Mandalorian, which is what we saw in the Book of Boba Fett. It looks good. It makes me wonder, had we not had such a shiny, polished look to the prequels, maybe people may have a different perspective, including myself, a perspective of the prequels. I think because it looks such like it was so over the top. Late 90s, early 2000s had such a glow to the movies. I think people really, especially the first two films, I think people really took them kind of the wrong way. Now, Attack of the Clones, it was kind of really weak plot, but um, I like this. I like the story. 2 or 10 years later, I think the cast is great. I think the young girl that they cast to be little Leia, I think she's great. She really fits like what Leia's personality would be like as a child. It's not a complaint. Here's the thing. I noticed something in episode 3. And are we talking spoilers, by the way? Are we just lifting up? Are we talking spoilers?
You know what? We're probably, 30 minutes into this episode? Screw it.
Okay.
Spoilers for Obi-Wan. I went spoiler free
Spoiler.
for Top Gun, but if you're here for Obi-Wan, you've probably watched the show.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go, guys. 3, 2, 1. So James Earl Jones comes back to voice Vader, right?
It's pretty
I
dope.
noticed he's 90. By the way, he's 91 years old, you know. But what I noticed was he sounded fresh and better than he sounded in Rogue One. I
Yeah.
really felt I don't know if he was sick at the time or what was going on in his life, like what was going on, but he sounded his age, and that was only what, like 5, 6 years ago,
Yeah,
Rogue
it
One?
came out in 2000, I believe, 16.
16, so 6, 7 years ago. And so he'd be in his mid 80s. He sounded worse, and then when I'm listening to him talk, voice Vader in episode 3, he sounded fresh, he sounded fast, he sounded lively. And of course, there could be post production, but then that could be said about 2016. It wasn't like it was ages ago, and things have
Which is
really
very weird.
shifted.
He was in Rebels around the same time, and he sounded just fine. So it's
Yeah,
possible there was a health issue.
there may have been. He sounded a little like
It
full,
also could
like
have been a
chest,
weird direction, like maybe they wanted him to be in a different space.
maybe. But he sounded his age. He sounded like
Yeah,
a mid 80
certainly
year
did.
old man. And I was like, and I noticed that watching Rogue One, I'm like, ooh, like I don't know, because there are a couple of people that have voiced Vader since then that are great impersonations.
I have a
Go ahead.
thing.
Okay.
They've been doing that audio tech that they weren't doing back then.
That's a very good point,
It's
man.
like that. It's like deep fake, but with your voice. They
They
did
did it
that
with
with Hamill,
Yep, they did it with Hamill to
and
make
this
him
is a
sound younger.
much. And they gave the like Hamill a lot
Yeah.
in Book of Boba Fett. This was a much more slimmed down, and Earl's only really done it one way and
Yeah.
hasn't had a lot of inflection, right? Because Vader's got that defined voice,
Voice, yep.
so it's probably easier for that kind of software to emulate. To
It's
tweak
possible.
as he's doing it.
It's possible. When they probably have, a litmus of previous voice and then
Yeah,
current, and the software can balance it out, because like you're right, if you listen to Mark Hamill now, he sounds like a 65-year-old man. Like he is gravelly and he has actually a very scratchy voice.
you can tell that dude voiced the Joker for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, but I thought James Earl Jones, and it could be like you said, it could be just post. I don't know, but I just thought it felt really odd going, like when I first heard him talk in episode 3. It just sounded odd, because I immediately thought back to Rogue One, where I'm in the theater and I'm like, man, James Earl Jones does not sound very good right now as Vader. Like he sounds really weak, and like when he yelled in one scene, you could hear like his throat was just really. It sounded like frog, like he had a frog in his throat, and I was like, yeah, I wonder how many takes they had for that. But you're right, the maybe the technology's moved come a ways, and they obviously did a great job of that with Hamill in Book of Boba Fett. But
Yeah,
that wasn't my complaint. It was something I really noticed. But my biggest complaint was Kathleen Kennedy has got to go, man. She has got to go, because we hear stories, and one of them is that J.J. Abrams said that going into the new trilogy, there was no real plan of action. It was just like, oh yeah, we could just create Star Wars films and people would go and watch them, which is what they thought they could do with The Force Awakens. And it's not an awful movie, but it's not great. It has its fun moments, but it has moments where it feels like a complete retread of A New Hope. But like after that, it just like the wheels came off because they had no direction to what they were going to do with the IP, and it makes me angry because had Favreau and Filoni been there 8 years ago, the sequel trilogy would have been completely different. It probably would have been as close to canon as the books, the extended universe as we
I have
got.
a feeling we'd have been getting an amalgamation of like the Yuzong Vong, but like done right.
Yep.
Which the books have been setting up canon books.
Yep.
So Ahsoka could still get there. They could still get us there.
Yeah, because we're obviously gonna get Thrawn in the Ahsoka series because that's who she's going after in Mando.
If they want to get that into the main, post Rise of Skywalker timeline, you do Ezra, like they find Ezra and Thrawn and all that, and they discover this threat. They stop the threat, but the threat's only just getting started. This was just the scout wave or whatever, and they're going to be coming in 25 years, which is, spoiler, right when the last movies ended. That'd be cool as fuck. But I don't know if they're gonna, if they'd have the balls to do it.
But then the question is, who do you bring back the sequel cast? Do you bring back?
I don't know.
Finn,
I don't know if they would,
Oscar Isaac, Daisy Ridley,
because they don't have to be back full time. It could just be set stories in that era, and they don't have to be in them full time.
Okay, but then who's gonna? You have to have a character carry the show though, or the movie.
They can make a new character. Mando is an entirely new character.
That's a fair point.
Yeah,
I didn't really think that they were going to have a Mandalorian be as successful as it was
without being Boba.
Boba Fett, which we learned that he really wasn't a Mandalorian to begin. We thought he was for 30 years, then we find out now he's not really.
And he's proud not to be.
Yeah, exactly. Look, back to the show. I think the storytelling is fun. It's a slower pace, which I'm expecting because it's supposed to be an older, wary, very tired Obi Wan Kenobi, which is what we're having with this character. Not as connected and it's tuned to the Force. I do want to ask this, and I'll hand it off over to you. Like, I'm really, it's a short season, so we only have a few episodes left. I'm very curious if they were gonna get a second season. I think we are because the first two episodes had a huge viewing audience, like mega big for compared to all of the other productions, like the MCU productions and everything else. On Mandalorian, it like blew everybody away. They announced that today. I think that they would do a season two. But at some point, you got to be careful because if you push it too far, you're gonna start bumping up to the Rebels timeline, aren't you? You do got to avoid that. But that's like another the Rebels timeline's another 10 years, 5 10 years.
About 4 to 6 ballpark.
Okay. So you got to be careful with that. And you're very limited in the stories because is he just going to keep leaving Tatooine every time?
I don't think I don't think it's going to be. If they do a season 2, it will be a spiritual successor. I don't think it'll be an Obi-Wan story. I don't think you'd get McGregor back for a second season.
That's fair.
I think he wanted to tell this story about how Obi-Wan got to where he was.
Yep.
I don't think he's going to come back for a second season. But the universe has a lot of cool opportunities. Of course, the bounty hunter arcs that Filoni never got to finish from the Clone Wars, they're all right there. You could still do it. The fall of Boba Fett versus Cad Bane, who shows up in Boba Fett. Like they could explore that. You could do something with Ming-Na. You could do something with Fennec Shand during that period of time. She was an active bounty hunter. Like you could do a Tales of the Bounty Hunter kind of show. You could tell they're doing the Rogue One show, which maybe that's going to be the spiritual thing anyway. Because that's the lead up to Rogue One, which is, obviously years before what we got in Rogue One. So it would be in timeline about 2 or 3 years after Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
So, because that one's got me hyped. That trailer was dope. The Mon Mothma spy story.
Yep.
Okay, that's some cool shit.
That is.
So, awesome. Well, we're going to talk about that later.
So we have another 10 years of.
I think it's just 7.
7.
This is 10 years later, and then 7 years from now is Battle of Yavin.
Okay. So, because I'm trying to remember.
Because Luke was only 17. He's 10 now.
See, he's 10 now. So there was debate on his age for years, like how old he was in A New Hope.
Because a lot of sci-fi people forget yeah, you need to make your characters age like actual human beings.
Yeah, yeah,
Mass Effect's got the same problem.
yeah. So because for a long time he was in his 20s. Like he was living
Which is
on
Hamill
Tatooine.
was.
Yeah, he was, but Luke was like in his early 20s at that point. But now we're talking about 17. Makes more sense. Okay, so another 7 years. I like the show, man. I'm excited to see how they wrap this up. Obviously, there's going to be another type of confrontation between Vader and Obi-Wan. My question to you, and I'll hand it off to you, is that do you feel like with Episode 3 and this confrontation with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, it taints a little bit of the New Hope's legacy?
No,
Or even retcons some of it at all. I
no,
mean,
because he never actually says when the last time he felt Obi-Wan's presence was. He just
yeah.
trails off.
The only weird thing is he calls him
Leia.
Darth in A New Hope. That was the weird thing. He called him Darth.
Well, it's possible we have yet to see the end of their confrontation
True.
in this season. He might, decide Anakin is dead. He's just Darth Vader now. And him coming to terms with that
Yeah.
is going to still be a part of his character. And
Okay.
like people were complaining about Leia, and I'm like, well, Leia in the New Hope never said she didn't know him.
Nope.
No, that never came up.
Nope.
She just knew him primarily because what she needed him as was a military advisor.
Yep.
Which was the role he had with her father. So, like, it works. I will say this: trust in Filoni. Like that, if that dude's behind the scenes making sure things are fine, have no fear. That dude's a genius.
That would be like he had to think out that point of this, because obviously we couldn't do a story about Luke because a Luke and Obi-Wan
That was definitive.
But
Luke
like,
does not know. Like he knows
does
of
not know
him, but doesn't know him.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure at some point when we wrap up this show at the last episode, they'll be back on Tatooine, and he may run into him and be like, "Hi, I'm Ben Kenobi," or something. Like that's how he knows who he is, old Ben, right? But yeah, I think you're right. I think Filoni probably went back and looked and watched and said, "Okay, let's do an Obi-Wan show. What's our thing here? It's obviously rescuing Leia. Okay, let me go back and look. Okay, we can make this work. We can make it work through the dialogue, and because she never really mentions, how she knew him." So I think it fits, but I'm just curious, for, like, the confrontation in A New Hope, if you felt like that may have changed things at all with what would happen in Episode 3.
No, because again, Obi-Wan is such a different character now versus then. Like it's very clear he's going to go through a major transformation, and it's even way different between now and when we meet him in Rebels years later.
Yep.
Like when he faces down Maul for the last time, and like just one cuts him in half, basically. Like he's an entirely different character because right now he's still haunted.
Yep.
He hasn't come to terms really with what happened. He's just hiding. So I think he's gonna have to come full circle and still be in hiding, but not hiding from himself.
Yeah.
Which will be a fun, next few episodes because there's only 3 left.
I think his turn moment's gonna come with a cameo of Liam Neeson. I think we're gonna get.
Oh, for sure, that's been set up.
I mean, we're setting it up, but like, it could be something as simple as we're gonna get a swerve and it'd be like Ghost, Mace Windu, or Yoda or somebody. But I think the only one that can set him back on the path, his path, would be Qui-Gon.
I still think they missed their boat with the Jedi. Just Qui-Gon was right about all of it.
Yeah.
If the Jedi had just listened to Qui-Gon, none of this shit had happened. Not a single thing of it.
The other thing is that we have to talk about this because it opens up something, because I think it was kind of in passing, but then all of a sudden they kind of sat on it for a minute. The fact that he remembered he had a brother.
Yes.
Obi-Wan, as a child.
That's some stuff that's out of the old Jedi Apprentice books.
Yep.
Like the Young Jedi stuff. I had those series, which was following Padawan Obi-Wan.
Yep.
With Master Qui-Gon. I had that series of books, and I think I still have a few of them behind me somewhere.
But we do know that it's canon now that we have the Kenobi line could still be out there in the galaxy. I like that idea, man, just because if you bring on Carl Urban, could be a Kenobi that's
dude,
like a scavenger.
Holy fuck.
There you go, dude. He's a Kenobi that's a scavenger, man.
Print that shit. Seriously, that shit prints fucking money.
Bookmark it, man.
Holy shit.
Carl Urban is whatever Kenobi. He's a scavenger that doesn't believe in the Force, and then
dude, what if they modeled Carl Urban as Dash Rendar?
Oh, look at you going. See, I
or
started it.
Kyle
He
Katarn,
started
one of the
it.
two.
Yes.
But I think
See,
Rendar. But
and you do a season 2
oh my
with
god, I
Carl
need
Urban.
to
And you just
clip
call it.
this. I'm gonna send this to Nick Shorts because he's a huge Jedi like Legends canon. Just I need your thoughts on that entire conversation. Make it a marker.
Come
Okay.
on, Nick. Reach out
My
to us, man.
brain just exploded. It was like
But
while I was
what
watching Top Gun Maverick, but in like 30 seconds.
we've talked about Sebastian Stan just replacing Mark Hamill as Luke, right? We've talked about that ad nauseum. But I think about I was really watching episode 3 this morning, and I was like, you know what? There's something there with that Kenobi. Like if you do a season 2, if you don't do Obi-Wan, you could still do Kenobi, you know?
That'd be dope.
And
That
like
would be dope.
you could have him, you can have Obi-Wan cameo because you can have Ewan McGregor cameo, but it could be just a Kenobi anthology for season 2.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
But
that is an interesting.
Carl Urban as
That's got my gears spinning, man.
as a grizzly Kenobi, like, but then he has force.
Yeah, the
He's force.
grizzle to just, shoot first, ask questions later, force
Yep.
sensitive like smuggler.
Yep.
Fuck yeah.
And if you want to just kind of be kind of an ass, you could have him have like his Chewbacca is a Gungan.
Dude, or something like like just some stupid shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Oh God, I don't know. Like that just popped in my head, man. Like the brother thing was. I mean, the brother thing was important to me. I was like, I think we.
Yeah,
can't
that and because
overlook
of course his like Kiwi accent is like it does get mistaken for British.
Yep.
Like people a lot of times will mistake that for some type of British accent because they do pronounce certain words the same, at least in a similar fashion. But like that'd be a great like such an alt version of Kenobi. God, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Now I really want to see that. Damn, that's
but
cool.
anyway, so yeah, I mean, I'm. How do you feel about the show? We've talked about bits and pieces. What is your?
I'm digging it so far. I'm curious what they're going to do with Third Sister.
Okay.
You talking about retcons? The biggest one for me was killing the Grand Inquisitor. We never did actually see if he was fully dead.
Nope.
So I don't think he is, because the Grand Inquisitor, of course, is that race had the title Grand Inquisitor, was the Grand Inquisitor years later in Rebels.
Yep.
So it's possible they just show that he's like recovering, like, and he's gonna heal or whatever, or that he's same race but different character. But that would be very weird. So I don't think he's fully dead.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's they're aliens. Who says where their heart is?
Exactly.
Who says where the lungs are? In Star Trek, one guy's heart's in his knee. Like, or what we would assume is his knee, right? Like, you're just making shit up as you go.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. So it's just, and I have this about Stranger Things. It's okay to hand wave some things. It's part of the fiction. Retcons will happen, right? Like, like it's like being fans of a serialized show is more like being a fan of a comic book than being a fan of a book.
Yeah.
Because a book is, unmutable, right? Like it is, once it is published, it is what is there. Beyond major rewrites. Or like, like people like taking the N-word out of like, Huck Finn and stuff, right? Like beyond those very rare scenarios, the book is the book. The adaptations, the ongoing stories and evolution, that will need to be reworked as you go along because it is not all forethought out before it's published. It's an ongoing tale, not a finished product.
I think a most recent example of that is S.H.I.E.L.D. in the first Iron Man movie.
Exactly. Or in this case, when we get to Stranger Things, the saga behind Eleven is like, how did she break out?
Yeah.
Obviously, very different backstory here in season 4.
Yep.
People freak the fuck out. Like, oh, retcon. And I'm like, it's a genre story, you dumb fucks. Shit's gonna change as it goes along. Either strap in or get out, because that's the kind of show it is. That's the kind of product it is. If you don't understand that, you can't be the fan you think you are. If you don't even understand that most basic thing of what it is at its core.
That's just edgelords looking for reasons to have something to bitch about when it comes to like a popular production. That's really it, man. That's really it.
True enough.
I just asked if you felt like there was any type of like retconning that you felt kind of ruined the legacy of New Hope.
No,
after
I think it fits in perfectly with it.
But like it makes a lot of sense that there are a few things that we're gonna have to change. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think this Rogue One, obviously the Andor show is going to be really solid. I think that they fit, they feel like they fit seamlessly with the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Plus the best of Clone Wars and Rebels. Like it feels like it fits in with the best of Star Wars. Mostly because Ewan McGregor is just that good.
God, he's such a great Obi-Wan, man.
He's Obi-Wan.
And to think that he took the job from Sir Alec McGinnis, like a legend in theater and stage, and
Yeah, who had absolutely no
everything.
idea what the fuck Star Wars was
Yeah.
about.
Oh God, if you're listening to
His
this,
letters
if
are
you,
hilarious.
if you ever want to like go read the book about the production of A New Hope, because it's hilarious. Also go watch what's that Empire of Dreams, that documentary, because he was the big get for the studio. Like they
Yeah,
needed a big name, and they're like, hey, oh yeah, we cast Sir Alec Guinness, and they're like, really? Okay. And he had no idea what he was getting into, and he was not very happy in the desert shooting, in 130-degree
he thought
temperatures.
it was
Yeah,
gonna flop for sure,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then it lights the world on fire and becomes one of the biggest movie properties of all time.
But then not only that, but like I mentioned this in a tweet. Someone said like, "Hey, Obi-Wan," like their tweet was strictly Obi-Wan, 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 and then the very last line was Ewan McGregor. Look, man, the one thing I like about Ewan is he's really like embraced the fact that people love him as Obi Wan Kenobi, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the best, in my opinion, the best part of
Bar
the
none,
pre.
not even close.
But I really appreciate the fact that he does fans right in how he treats fans, but also he treats the story and the legacy of Star
I
Wars.
forgot Ian McDermott as as Palpatine.
Yes, that's correct.
Extremely close second.
Yes, yes. And and even I kind of lost my train of. Oh, but how he treats the role, but his legacy next to Sir Alec, like he's always like, yeah, but it wasn't just me. I'm just trying to fit in his shadow, and he's great about that. So, yeah, I really like. I love the character, man, and I hope that the next couple of episodes they give this. I know like El Camino was the Jesse Pinkman send off for Breaking Bad on Netflix. This, like, you're right. This is Ewan McGregor and Obi-Wan send off.
And now that we've seen him get his butt whooped,
Oh,
I need to see him absolutely thrash the shit out of the Inquisitors.
it's something's gotta happen, right?
Because
Something's
now that
gonna
the kid's in
snap.
danger,
Yeah,
no holds bar, man. Here we go.
we need old Obi-Wan back. Yep.
Yeah, we need
It's
Obi-Wan that just had Maul kill the love of his life, and he's just going to go to town.
Yeah.
That like Obi-Wan with an edge part that they played with a little bit in Clone Wars was fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Of course, we got to see Hayden Christensen as well. Obviously it was just a vision. It was a hallucination, but actually see him in the desert. In the robe and everything. Obviously speaks to the mental state that Obi-Wan is in, but also it was pretty cool seeing Hayden Christensen back in Star Wars.
Yeah, man. I think I thought
See
he
him
was
come full
fine.
circle with all of it.
Yeah, he was fine in Revenge of the Sith. Really bad in the Clone Wars, but a lot of that
But speaking of Clone Wars, that entire movie was
Attack of
what?
the Clones.
Attack of the Clones. 80. That entire movie was apparently ADR.
Yeah.
That explains so fucking much. Because
Right.
he was a young actor.
Yeah, he was what, 21 at that point? 18?
Yeah.
No,
No,
19, 18 or
yeah,
19.
he was. Yeah, I think he was underage for Attack of the
Yeah.
Clones for most of the production, at least,
Yeah.
or close to. Like he was a young guy. Hadn't done all that much. It wasn't quite, like Tom Welling. Hey, you're going to be Superman for 10 years, when he hadn't done anything. They just cast him. It wasn't quite that, but it was like he was entirely like just out of his depth with a director who didn't know how to get him there, which sucked.
Yeah.
And it's good to see that he's been able to, rise above a lot of the hate and still be cool with where he's at. And, he's back in Star Wars, which is
Yeah,
dope.
man. At the celebration this weekend, he was cool. He was cordial to the fans. He gets why people were negative towards him. He understands, but he doesn't throw anything under the bus. He doesn't throw anyone under the bus about his time in the prequels. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan, but I thought he did a fine job in Revenge of the Sith. Attack of the Clones, I thought he was awful in it, but like I understand there's a lot of factors here. Very young actor. All of a sudden, he's thrust into a huge role. They can't all be like Daisy Ridley, just engaging in their first mega
Yeah.
role, right? Like
That, and if you
same
have to go back in and redo all of your audio,
in audio, yeah, the
all of
entire.
it,
Yep.
that's bonkers, man.
That's crazy.
Like, you have to
But
actually be a voice actor then, and that's an entirely different skill set.
yeah, people don't understand pacing, understanding location, sound effects, everything around you, backdrop, like levels, like all of that inflection. Like there's so many things that come into ADR, and to have to do an entire movie in ADR, like reshoot,
If what McGregor says is true.
he doesn't seem like the type to just make something
But it
up.
could have
Like
just been all his scenes,
that's true.
which
It
he's
could
got
have
a
just been,
lot.
yeah,
But still, that does not speak so great of Lucas.
yeah. I'll give Lucas this though because both Phantom Menace. I mean, Phantom Menace was the first film to be shot with digital cameras. Remember that?
Yeah, it was groundbreaking.
So he did a lot of groundbreaking stuff in the prequels. That's commonplace now. So I'll give him credit. He did the best he could, but there's a lot of faults and a lot of stuff to learn from that. Yeah.
Trying to do a Jedi mind trick on Rhoda. You will get yourself a Diet Coke. I don't have any pop here in my house, Rhoda. So once again, everybody, we are live over at twitch.tv/MrWartburg, where Rhoda, one of our VIPs, is in the chat harassing us like he always does.
Hello, Rhoda.
Which SNL skit are you talking about? Talking about the Meet the Boss one? Undercover Boss one with Adam Driver? Speaking of Adam Driver SNL, every SNL skit that man has done is absolute banger. I've watched the Medieval Times and him as the old man, oil baron.
God.
It's the, what is it, like father-son, like school day or whatever, when he shows up and Pete Davidson plays his son. Impeccable. That dude is insane. He's so talented. Anyway, back to Obi-Wan. I didn't finish off my points about Third Sister.
Yeah, go for it.
Obviously, Quinlan Vos getting name dropped. That was dope. I would like an Asajj Ventress name drop next, because they had a whole doomed lovers story in a lot of the extended media that we were gonna get in what would have been the original Clone Wars season 6, and then didn't happen because of logistics. They couldn't. I don't think they could get one of the actors who did the role, so they just scrapped it and went with a different storyline. But it's that and the bounty hunter arc that we never got it. Dang it, we were so close. But anyway, Bobby Moynihan, George Lucas. Have I ever seen that skit? I don't think I've seen that one. Yeah, Discord it to me, Rhoda. Drop it in the Discord. But Third Sister, she freaking out when she sees the Jedi Academy logo.
Yeah.
And then immediately running into Leia. I gotta wonder, is when Obi-Wan shows up, is she gonna actually fight him?
Huh.
You know what I mean? Or is she just gonna walk away?
That could be the swerve that, there has to be a swerve somewhere along the way, right? That could be that she's hunting him down for not to kill him, but for something else.
Because I think she 100% blames him for what Vader did.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
But then why turn to the dark side and work for Vader, though? Because she had no choice?
Possibly. Yeah. That's going to be the hinge of, the plot. Because obviously now Leia's captured. Obi-Wan's got to go after her. He needs backup. Who does he turn to? I don't know. So a lot of characters that were from Rebels and, that we know are around. Yeah. Holy shit, does Hondo show up? Hondo Onaka? Space pirate?
Rex shows up?
Dude, Rex showing up would be fucking awesome. Because Tamura Robinson was on set in that armor.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
And he was at Star Wars Celebration talking about he has no problem doing anything that they ask him to do. So
I will say though, it does sound weird not hearing what is the actual voice actor that does all the
Bad Batch, what's his name?
D. Bradley Baker.
Okay, there you go.
Pretty sure. It's weird not hearing him versus Rob, it's weird. But I get it because he only played him on screen. He played his dad, who was the progenitor of the clone race. 100% lore-wise, perfect sense, perfect casting. But man, that voice, him as Rex, is just so iconic. Clone Wars and Rebels, Rex is maybe the best character besides Ahsoka. And it's just weird not hearing him. But man, if Rex showed up,
Rex
I'm in.
Show up because you do know that, from the cartoons, he's a big ally of both Anakin and Obi-Wan. They established a friendship during the Clone Wars. Um, don't sleep on Fennec Shan showing up.
Oh,
Kind of
100%.
kind of tie in because it's on Tatooine, Tatooine.
Yeah, it's
So
in that kind of underbelly part of the world
yeah,
where
it's 5 years
she's kind of more of an
after.
anti-hero.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a few years after Book of Boba Fett, so we don't know if Boba Fett is still the boss. In that area taking over for Java.
Oh,
She
this
could
is
just
way
show up.
before then. Boba Fett's post-Empire.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you're correct. I'm sorry. I'm
Boba's
getting my
Boba's
like
prime of his career here.
prime of his career. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm completely like that's I don't know why I did that. I crossed over shows for some reason and I got kind of lost in the loop on Tatooine. So, you're right. But Fennec Shan could still show up too.
Because I
Early
mean,
on.
she's ageless, so
Yeah.
nobody would bat an eye.
There's so many possibilities, especially like you said with Rebels, so many characters that could pop up.
Yeah, a lot
He's
of
he's
characters
gonna
we
need
know where they'll go.
he's gonna need help.
Yeah, but I'm just curious. We're 3 episodes in and we haven't met that help yet. Like how well can you do that in 3 more episodes?
Yeah, that would kind of suck. Just like the very last episode, the finale, be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna call in, you know, the Bad Batch, something crazy like that, right? I think it might be Rex though. I think it might be Rex.
Yeah, that would make the most sense of who's on the board. Ahsoka's off the table because we know she
Yep.
really, other than helping to form the rebellion, really wasn't around on purpose.
Yeah.
She was also in hiding. But I think seeing young Ahsoka would be cool, or younger Ahsoka, before we see her again. In
This is a point where we're at in the timeline is when Rex joins the rebellion, right?
just about no, he's
Just
still in Rebels. He's hiding out on this planet. Hasn't talked to
okay.
Ahsoka in
Yeah.
basically since the Siege of Mandalore.
Yeah.
So he's basically by himself with a few other different commandos who took out their chips. And other than that, he's just kind of doing whatever. He doesn't join the rebellion until Ahsoka finds him in Rebels season Dos.
Yeah.
Great season. Twilight of the Apprentice. Maybe the best 2-parter in an animated show outside of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Awesome stuff. So much cool fucking Star Wars shit happened in that show. Darth Maul facing off against Ezra Bridger and Ahsoka Tano, and then Ahsoka fighting Darth Vader in this like Sith thing on Malachor while Duel of the not Duel of the Fates, but they have this very similar score. Well, that's just playing in the background. Oh, so cool. So cool. Watch that show, even though it's kind of kidsy. God, some of the coolest Star Wars shit happens in that show.
I guess, and who was one of the main producers of Rebels?
Oh,
again?
right. Dave Filoni.
Dave.
Almost like
Filoni,
that guy
yeah.
gets Star Wars better than anyone. And I mean anyone.
Anyone, like, because remember when Kennedy took over and they were talking about doing a sequel and J.J. Abrams was going to be first up to bat, they said no one knows Star Wars more than J.J. Abrams, and that wasn't true. It's Dave Filoni.
Hell, every actual fan was like, yeah, this cowboy wearing hat dude that apprenticed under George Lucas and is better than him at everything. That dude.
Yeah.
That dude knows Star Wars. The guy that gave us Ahsoka Tano? Hell yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude gets it.
I'm hoping that it's not going to be an over the top finale for this show. The next couple episodes are probably, like you said, they're going to finish their face off, Vader and Obi-Wan. Obviously Leia gets back to her family. But I'm hoping to see some resolution with the character to, like you said, to kind of step up to what's next for him leading up to Rebels. Because we find out a few years later, what he's up to in Rebels. So
yeah, like he's still a hermit,
Yeah.
living in the sands on Tatooine then, but he's much more at peace.
He's not so self-deprecating. Yeah.
Yeah. He understands, it's not about me, which is an interesting place to leave that kind of character.
Sure.
It'll be cool to see how he gets there. So, it's been about an hour talking about various things here for episode number 42. Usually anything to talk about before we bounce and do episode 43 back to back.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this on a podcast service, in a couple of days, we're going to be dropping our specific Stranger Things Season 4 Part 1 discussion and review. So be on the lookout for that. If you're on YouTube, you go first.
I just want to drop this in, man, just because we talked about it before recording. There is a rumor on Giant Freaking Robot who they've broken some pretty big stuff over the years. That apparently Marvel's talking to the Duffer Brothers about taking over Ghost Rider. If there's any truth to this, I say hell to the yes. Hell to the yes. They're
Yes.
wrapping up. They're going to start production next year on Stranger Things season 5, which will be the final season, and we'll talk about that in the next podcast, the next episode. So be on the lookout for that. But the fact that the next product the next IP they jump on is, not an original of theirs, but Ghost Rider. Like, I'm all for it, man. Like, if there's guys that could turn it into a good horror show or movie, it's the Duffer Brothers, right?
Hell yeah. Give me that shit.
I want that rumor to be true. I just wanted to put it out there since we're talking.
I'm gonna throw it out there. Carl Urban is Ghost Rider. Just because gotta have the callback. I gotta have the callback.
You could never have enough Carl Urban.
The world needs more Carl Urban.
I agree with that. I agree.
I think if you take anything away from this podcast, it's that everybody would just need more Carl Urban in our lives. And it's it's like the apple today. Watch Carl Urban movies.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so that's probably what we're gonna call it here for episode 42.
Yep.
If you're on YouTube, Spotify, podcast services, drop a like, review, subscribe, whatever you need to on your specific platform of choice. Be sure to head over live to twitch.tv/MrWartburg, MrWartburg, WARTBURG, where we stream live generally every other week. Obviously, here in the summer months, it's going to get a little condensed, but then go with bigger breaks. Because this week, we're doing back-to-back episodes. Next week, we're going to talk about The Boys, first 3 episodes. And then right around the corner, we got Miss Marvel, Umbrella Academy, Thor Ragnarok, and then a fair bit of break after that until She-Hulk.
Yep.
And Bullet Train. I want to see that movie. That Brad Pitt, weird Japanese assassin movie.
Yeah.
I want to see the shit. I want to watch shit of that movie. But yeah, we're going to be kind of condensed here in a little bit. We'll probably be streaming live next week, I would assume, at some point to talk about The Boys. And of course, on your podcast platforms, stay tuned for episode 43, where we're going to be talking about Stranger Things Season 4, Part 1. And then Part 2 in the summer. Peace.